Okay, we're going to deal with DXC today. Next, data processing tech. DXC stands for direct extraction, and basically, was the person who is logged in is waiting for name? Please log in with your name, yeah. Please. Okay. So basically, we use this mechanism of extracting through DXC when you want to extract data from business suite, SAP business suite, any only for SAP applications, we have this flexibility of extracting data through DXC into SAP HANA. For example, let's say if you have your ECC system and if ECC has got embedded BW system into it, we can use the extractor data sources and you replicate them into the BW component within ECC. And when you run the info package, instead of loading it to PSA, it does load the data into HANA tables. That's the concept here. You'll have SAP business. Who is this person waiting for name? Can you tell me your name, please? Hello, what's your name? Person who is logged in with waiting for name, yeah. Please do send your name. If you can't log in with your name, just ping your name. Log in with your name, otherwise I'm going to disconnect you, please. Yeah. You're Sridhar. Okay. Yeah, Sridhar, please respond to Pawan. Yeah. When he's asking you, respond to him. Yeah? Okay. So in the ECC, we have the extractors. Now, within the BW component of ECC, you replicate the data source. And then when you basically run your info package, instead of loading it to PSA, it does load into corresponding tables in HANA. That's the concept of DXC. So in this case, this is the best case when you going with sidecar implementation. When I say sidecar, let's say I have ECC system. And it's already been loading into BW. This is a separate BW application. And I have ECC going through. Now we have installed separate HANA database. This is not the backend of BW, it's a separate HANA database. Now I would like to use the extractors in ECC. Let's say the extractors are already been used to load to BW. Now I would like to use the extractors of same ECC and load into HANA, which is separate HANA database. So that is where I can use the DX mechanism. We call this sidecar, means I have the existing BW system running as it is. Simultaneously, we are trying to implement the HANA as a separate database as a data warehousing. Now I would like to use the extractors of ECC and load into HANA also. And that is where we go with the DX mechanisms. So we call it a sidecar. So we are just leaving with the existing data warehousing solution of BW and also implementing a new data warehousing solution with HANA without disturbing the old one. We call this a sidecar. So when you have a scenarios like this, we can use the DX mechanism and load into HANA. Or even if there is no BW, if I just have ECC And let's say within ECC we'll have BW component also. Yeah, within ECC you can install BW component. So by using this from ECC I can extract data into HANA. Any SAP suite, ECC, CRM, APO, all this. Yeah. So I have this case now. I've got ECC, and within ECC I've got BW component installed, and I would like to leverage this and load into HANA. Okay, where I can leverage the data sources to load into HANA. Yeah? So how do we configure this and how do we load this? Okay, so if you go to Google, and when you search for SAP DXC HANA or SAP HANA direct extraction connection, you get to see a PDF here. You get to see a PDF document, and I just download that PDF, and this is here. So the PDF document gives you the detailed how do we go about creating all the connections and the setup between ECC and HANA to enable it for DXC. See, the major concept would be how does it work out is so now you want to integrate this ECC and HANA, so we need to have an integration between them. So what they do is your HANA will have access engine, yeah, and SAP has given certain set of programs like DXC. They're given some set of programs relevant to DXC. So we need to install this program DXC in HANA and enable this to run on access engines. Now, once we configure that, so your DXC program would run on access engine, right? Then we need to go about creating an RFC connection in ECC through which I can connect to, or through which I can connect to this program. I need to create an RFC connection in ECC through which we of HTTP connection, RFC of type HTTP connection. So from ECC, I will be able to ping this service which is running on access engine. So the SAP is given a service which is a program. So I need to install this program and make sure it is scheduled to run on, not scheduled, it is running on access engine. Then I need to create an RFC connection in the ECC system to HTTP connection type to ping in this service which is running on access engine. Once we have that integration, then we can start setting up. Now once we have that integration, we need to do some settings with saying, let's say once you load your data source, it has to load into some tables in HANA, which user should be used, what is the schema in which the table should be created. All the stuff must be done. So we're trying to do that configuration now. Yeah. System is stuck. Okay. So this is the PDF document which I have actually downloaded this now. We have multiple sections. We'll have overview of DXC. You can just read through this. That is what they say. You don't have to work. See, they say you'll have a SAP business suite, and within that you're going to use embedded BW and have your extractor connected here, and then instead of loading it to PSA, when you schedule the info packet, it loads into the tables in HANA. Yeah? Just go to the overview, and this sections mainly important. 4 and 5. 4 will tell you how to perform the setup, and then 5 will tell you the steps to start loading the database. Now let's follow these steps one by one. 4. First thing what it's trying to do is verifying the availability of access engine server and web dispatcher. So actually, what is our requirement? We need to install the service DXC and make it to run on access engine. So before I set up the DXC program, I'm making sure that access engine is up, access engine server is up and running, and the web dispatcher is running. Then I would set up this DXC. Then I'll create an HTTP connect. So once I set up this DXC program to run on Access Engine, next I create an HTTP connection in ECC to the HANA systems, and then I start creating all kind of connections, tables, schemas, all this, and then start loading in this. Okay. When HANA is DB, we have to go with database connection. Why are we creating RFC connection here? Because I would like to interface the extractors here. It's not, we are not pushing data through the DB connect. Okay. What we are trying to do is, we're trying to from ECC, I'm trying to connect to some service which is running on HANA, not the database. I'm not trying, see, there's index server and access engine. Index server is the one which is dealt with the database. But I'm not connecting to the index server of HANA database. From ECC, I'm trying to connect to some program or a service which is running on the access engine. So access engine is nowhere connected with the data. It is connected with the database, but it is not database server. It is actually the server which actually executes your applications on it. So I'm trying to connect to an application which is running on access engine of my HANA database server, not the database. Okay, that's where we go with RFC connection here. Okay, so we're going to follow all these steps one by one and get the configuration and then start loading it. System is stuck. So just click on this step, verifying what is it. Now, if you just go down, it says I'll go to administration console, configuration tab, daemon.ini, and make sure the web dispatcher instance is set to 1. Yeah. And then similarly, it tells you about go to daemon.ini, then access engine has been set and the host is all set. Okay. I'll do this. I'll get in to HANA database, go to administration, and then configuration, daemon.ini. Then you should see something on web dispatcher. When the web dispatcher, you see instances have been set to 1. Generally, if it is not switched on, you will see it as 0. You should right click and say change and set this as 1 and say OK. Then web dispatcher is switched on. Same way, you also have to switch on the access engine. Expand this. It is already switched on because you see a green light here. Okay. If not, you should right click on the instances, again say change and set it to 1 and say save. Then it's switched on. Okay. Then once you switch on the web dispatcher and the access engine, it's better to restart your HANA server, but I'm already started it, so it's fine. So that is done. And then once that is been enabled, I want to make sure whether my access engine is up and running. To do this, what I'll do, you'll have to get into this path. HTTP your HANA server, SAP Cubex. And what do you think is a port for access engine? 80 and the instance is 01. So I get a message saying access engine is up and running. So my web dispatcher and access engine are up. Okay, it's fine. Okay. Next, let me go to 4. So once we have verified it, next step is what set up the SAP HANA DXC connection. Now for within this setting up DXC connection in HANA, we have got multiple steps. One is import the delivery unit for DXC. See, DXC is a free license. It's not an extra license cost. Once you buy your HANA database, you get this DXC delivery unit by free. Okay. So what happens whenever SAP is trying to ship something as some programs as part of HANA database, they give it as a delivery unit. You just have to import the delivery unit into your HANA systems. So it says import the delivery unit for DXC. Just click on this. It just tells you go to modular source or delivery unit, select this 7 cents. And main thing is you have to import this program, this service. HANA dot, this is the delivery unit. Delivery unit always goes with the extension .tzz. HANA underscore DXC .tzz. That's what I'll have to do. So how do I do this? File, import. I would like to import a delivery unit. Say next. Select the system. Say next. Now I have, see, that is a free license. It will be available in the server already when it is installed. Now when you drop down, you should see a delivery unit called HANA underscore DXC.tzz here. Now just select this and say over, finish. So now what are the service or what are the program which is delivered by SAP as part of DXC has been imported. If it is imported, I should find the folder here. When I go to the package SAP, I should see all the so it says so I should see a package called SAP. Under this, I should see HANA. Under this, I should see a subfolder called, what is it? Look at this, DXC. When I expand, it says some objects are hidden. We can't see them. But if you really want to see them, I can go to HANA development. You go to repositories. You expand any of the connection. SAP HANA, then DXC. See, you see some service here. There are some programs given DXC.XSC function. This is actually a service. Okay, if you double click on this, there is some program coding which is being given by SAP. That is actually a service given by SAP. Okay. So I've imported the delivery unit now. We import delivery unit. The next is configure the Access application server to use a DXC. Now we imported this service. Now I need to enable the service to run on Access Engine bus. Okay. So how do I do this? Go to Administration Console, Configuration tab, then get into this Access Engine.ini, then on the application container, add this application value lib access DXC. Okay. So how do I get in? Get into Administration, Configuration, Access Engine.ini. Then you'll have application container. Then here in the application list, you'll have list of applications which are running on Access Engine. Then for this, what you do, you add your Access. This is the one. This is the name, lib access DXC service, and say save. See, now this is the default value, but this is the actual value. Now let's see whether actual value holds my name. Yes. If it doesn't hold, you can just you can have all other applications, comma, then list out your service and then say save. That adds to the value. Now I already have it. Now once I have this service now running on Access Engine, I just want to check whether that is running or not. Okay. Okay. If you remember what is the path, it was installed under SAP, under HANA, under that we have this function, right? So get into Access Engine 8001 slash SAP slash, then I got folder HANA, then I got a folder called DXC. Now within that folder, what was the function name? Program, you remember? DXC.XSC function. Okay. See, now it says SAP HANA direct extractor connection. The service is up and running. So I got my DXC service program, which is running on my Access Engine. Now it is up and running now. Okay. So you have import delivery unit, we configured it, and then next was verifying it. I run this saying 8001 SAP HANA DXC, then there was set as running bus. So the next step, what is this? Create a DX user in HANA and create a schema in HANA. So I told you the overview on this. I said once we have this service running in, I'll go to a ECC and create an RFC connection to connect to this. So when I create an RFC connection, I need to specify the username to log into this HANA database, right? For that, I need to create one user, yeah. Create DXC user. So create new user. All this, just grant him only one role as what? What is monitoring? That's it, nothing else. Security. Then I'll say new user. I'll say 9 email they will not accept Cubics 9 DXC. That's my username. Let me have this in my notepad. Okay, just give some password. And I need to just add a role called monitoring. Just say activate. Do not manage. So the user is created now. Okay. Now first time when the user is created, the task for the change of the password. So I just trying to log in once with this Cubex 9 DXC. That's changed. Okay, done. So the next step, that's about creating user. Next step, we'll have to create a DX. I need to create one schema because the plan here is, if you see this overview, we're trying to plan, say, when I load the data from this ECC, it is going to load into some tables in HANA. And I would like to dedicate one schema to have these tables getting created here. Okay, so I'll have to create one schema for. I'm just saying create schema, and I want this schema to be owned by the DX user. So when from RFC, when you log into HANA with this user, DX user, you'll be able to access this schema first. Okay. So how do I create schema? So I'll say my schema would be Cubics 9 DXC SCH. Q9 DXCSCH. That's my schema name, remember. And I want this user to be owning it. Yeah. Let's execute. So now that's it. Now when I basically look at this user, you should be able to see that schema in this list here. Catalog. Does he see Cubex 9 DXC? See, he sees the schema now, Cubex 9 DXC, but there will be no tables yet. Yeah. Good. Okay. I've done this setup. Okay. Next, create an HTTP connection to HANA system. Now we'll have to start getting into EC system and create an RFC connection of type HTTP connection, and where the RFC connection will be able to ping the DXC service which is running on XS engine bus. So we go to SM59, we select this HTTP connection external system, then give the name, technical name, service, log on, and the path is so and so, all this, you do all this stuff and then create a connection. Okay. So how do I do this? So I log into EC system. SM59. I'll have to create HTTP connection to external system server and say create new. Give some name, but they're trying to give you some naming convention to be followed. You can use that. I'll just use. not mandatory bus. Okay, you can give any name you want. DXC HANA connection. I'll say 9 cubics. This is my RFC connection name, and then just give some descriptions, and then the host, I would like to ping in SAP Cubics, which is my HANA database, and the service is my port 8001, which is Access Engine port. Now within that port, which path I need to ping in? Slash SAP slash HANA slash DXC. This is a service. So ultimately, I'm trying to create an RFC connection which can ping this path, SAP Cubics 80801, and this service running on the engine. Okay. And log on security. Use basic authentication. We have this person we created. We can use this user to log in. Yeah. Now when I test this, I should see a response body as this. SAP. So now my RFC connection in ECC is able to ping my service, Access Engine service, which is running on HANA database. Okay. Good. So I have the RFC connection also created. Now next, yeah. 1.4 point. Next, configure the DX HTTP interface destination is what I've done. Okay. Next, once we have the interface, then choose system-wide settings for data. This is a very important point. You read through when you're practicing it. There's something called global system and data source. Now let's see this. Now what I want is, let's say I've got this ECC system. Now ECC system, you might have a lot of data sources. Now what are the data sources you create in this ECC and you replicate to BW? Do you want to use all these data sources for DXC, or do you want to use some of the data source for loading it to BW, some for DXC? It depends on scenario to scenario, right? So if you say global, all the data sources what you generate will by default be used by DXC bus. If you say system, only the respective client, let's say whatever I replicate the data source into this BW system will be used for DXC bus. But if replicate the data source to another BW, that will act as normal BW only. That is system. But if I want to specifically, let's say I have this BW, but some data sources into this BW I would like to use for DXC, some data source in this BW I would like to use for normal BW loading, then you will set that as data source. Global means all the data source of the DCC will be used by DXC. System will be like say only respect whatever data source you replicate to that particular BW system will be used for DXC. Data source will be like you can explicitly specify which data source you want to use for DXC, which you don't want. Okay. I would preferably use this option so that I can use some data source for BW loading, some data source for using for DXC loading also. So for this, we basically have to do this set. What SAP has done is to make this behavior dynamic. You maintain some parameter in the table. You'll have a table called RS admin. In the RS admin table, you'll have a parameter called PSA to HDB. For this parameter, they ask you to maintain a value either global or system or data source depending on the requirement. So based on the value what is specified, the system behavior will change. Okay. So how can I maintain that? First, let's check the table. We need to maintain all these parameters first. RS admin. You get in. You'll have some parameters to be maintained into this parameter table. Get those contents. You'll have all starting with all your DXC ones will start with PSA. Okay. See, I see this parameter PSA to HDB maintained already maintained as data source for your previous batch. If not maintained, I'll have to maintain this. So how do I maintain? You can straight away go to SC38. You'll have a program called SAP underscore RS admin underscore maintain. Run this. And you want to maintain which object bus? PSA to PHDB, and what is the value I would like to maintain the data source? I want to update the record. So update and execute. So that updates it. If you can refresh, it's already there, but it's okay. Okay. Same way, you'll have another parameter called PSA to HDB destination. Let's go. Let's follow the document. Okay. That's fine about setting up system-wide settings. Then create and populate a table to specify the data source for use in DXC. This is important. See, the plan here is we are saying we are set it as data source, right? Means we're going to indicate some data source will be used for DXC and some data source will not be used for DXC. So for that, what they have done is SAP has given a parameter called data source table here. Here you'll have to list out some database table name. In this table, you will be listing out which data source should be used for DXC, which should be not. Okay. So what I've done is, so next step is about creating the table. So create and populate table. Now go down. You can go in details. They tell you go to SC11, give the table name, give description, give the field names. See, basically field names will be two. One is data source and source system, because data source is always qualified by source system. So data source, logical system, create like this, do technical settings. I've already created the table like that. This is my table. This is going to be my table. So I've created a table with data source and logical system. And what are the data source you maintain in this table? Only those will be used for DXC suppose. Others will not be used. Okay. We'll have to maintain the data source with respect to source system here. And now, and then I need to use this program rs-admin underscore maintain and use this parameter PSA to HDB data source table and specify the table name which I should use it for indicating the data source for DXC bus. Update. So if you want to create your own table and specify it here. Okay. Table interest indicating the table to be used for data source. Now you need to go to see SAP admin PSA to HDB data source table, specify your table name and update. Okay. Next. Okay, done this. Now designate the schema in HANA to store in-memory DSO. Actually, we'll come to that, but now we just have to indicate this. See, I told you as per this picture, when you basically replicate your data source, and then when you activate the data source in BW, it automatically creates these tables in HANA. And when you run the info package, those tables are loaded. The tables what it creates will be something like in-memory DSO, which will have active table and new table version. So there's a concept called in-memory DSO, same like standard DSO, but it will not have a physical change log. It will only have physical active table and new table version. Okay, we'll see that. Now, actually, so what is happening here? When I activate the data source, it has to create those active table and new table into some schema, right? So we need to designate which schema to be used for creating that. That is the reason we have created one schema here. What is the schema we planned? We planned to use this, right? Q9 and this. So I'll have to update this table. In rs-admin, I need to say PSA to HDB schema should be this. So let me modify this. Same program. I'll use this parameter PSA to HDB schema. Give your schema name. Say update. So I've updated this entry to my schema. What I would like to use in. Okay. So when we activate the data source in BW component of ECC, it creates those in-memory DSO tables into this schema here. Next configuration. And next is I also need to specify the destination RFC which needs to be used. The RFC what I wanted to use is this the one. Yeah. Get back. PSA. So this is the parameter PSA to HDB destination should be used. This is the RFC to be used. Execute. Now it's all done. So now we can get into step 5 where we start loading the data into. Now this configuration is fine. Now we can start loading the data using this configuration. So what I'll do, I'll get into ECC. Let me create one data source. DXC 9 cubics. This is my data source name. Say create. So I say Y sales. You also want to go with delta. Because I also want to use the delta option. Data source ready. Now what you do is you have to get in. I've got embedded BW, so within this, when I go to RS7, I'll still have the RS7 component. Within ECC, I've got embedded BW. You'll have it. Okay. So when I go to RS7 within ECC system, I see this connection ECW 00800. This is my connection to ECC within ECC component. So I can replicate this through RSDS. This is your data source. This is your source system, and your data source was YDXC underscore cubex9 or 9 cubex. And say replicate. So data source replicated. Now if I go to RS7, look at this data source tree. This is the one YDXC underscore 9 cubex here. Yes. Now before I activate this data source, I need to make sure I maintain that in the table. You remember we have a custom table for DXC where I go to indicate the data source. Mine was ECW or yeah. Mine is ECW bus. So indicate that by maintaining a data source name into this table, you're indicating the program that this will be used for DXC bus. Now once we have this, now when I start activating this data source, yeah, it is going to create the tables in this schema. Now still now there's no tables in the schema. Look at this now. There are no tables yet. Okay. As soon as I activate this data source, so it is going to create an in-memory DSO table with active table and new table for me. And what is your data source name? YDXC9 cubex, right? So you remember active table will be 00 and the new table will be 40. Yeah. And moreover, look at this. Since I create my, this is important. Okay, let me see the tables getting created here. Cubex9 DXC, right? Cubex9 DXCSH. Sorry, sir. Q9 DXCSH is my schema. See those tables created now. Slash base slash A, your data source name 00. This is your active table. Slash base slash A 40. This is your new table. Okay. But these tables will have no data yet. Your active data preview. Data preview. There's no data into this new table or active tables. Okay, we'll go back. Now I'll create my info package. I'll do init load because it is enabled for Delta. So I'll do init load with the data. There are some 12 records in it. So when we move to production, do we need to send these changes in the transport request? Yes, yes, yes. We can transport the table entries, right? We can select this and say table entry, and then you can say transport. We can do this, or manually can add this table entry in the request also. Right? We can do that. Let me see. So I see these 14 records coming in. Only I just have some problem. It's not changing to green, but I'm forcefully changing to green. There's some issue in the system. Let me not do that now, because otherwise it will get activated automatically. Now if you go to this, I should see those 12 records in this 40, which is what? New table, but there's no data yet in the new table. Now as soon as the request is set to green, or it gets successful, it gets activated automatically. And once it is activated, I should see all the data in my active table. So no more data in the new table. Okay. And let's say you do some changes in the table, and then you can get that through Delta. Uh, why sales was a table? With a numeric pointer, it will only identify change. I'll run this info package again. Okay. The two records of 16 and 17 would come into new table now. See, 17 and 18. And then when active, they get into this. New table should be cleaned out, and I should see those records added 17 and 18 in the active table. And then I can use this table and build your views and start doing your reporting. Yeah. And this is how it works with the DXC concept. And See the connection part. If I don't tell you, you'll ask me how to do. If I tell, generally get confused, but that's very simple. Generally that will be taken care of by the basis, but you should have an idea. At least you should be able to tell him this is what needs to be done, because now the configurations have become vast, and even bases are not really strong. When you're supposed to work with DX, at least you should be able to open the document and tell him this is what needs to be done. I want this configurations needs to be done. At least then they can understand. That is how it is happening now. Now they're not, because it has become vast concept about configurations, because they need to know about BO configurations, HANA, all this. A lot of confusions. So you can clearly specify them the document to be followed or the steps to be followed, what needs to be done for your configurations. Yeah. Can we use same data source for loading to BW as well as DXC? No. No, right? That's what I was telling you. If you either use this data source for DXC or for BW, either one. Either one, okay? That's
Sir, only for general.
When I set the system settings as data source, I can explicitly indicate which data source I should use for DXC, which one I should use for BW loading. Okay. Yeah, tell me.
It's only for general extractor or for all the extraction like LV extraction data source?
All extractors you can use. All extractors you can use. One very important point I want, you raised it, good one. You can use any extractor, LO, FI, anything you can use. Okay. One important point I want to touch on is, okay, it is creating like in-memory DSO table, right? Like it is creating active tables. So what will be primary key in this active table? Let me see open definition. What is the primary key in this? Client, and what is this here? Look at this primary key. What are primary key in this? Client and VBLN. So how come it has taken the VBLN of the primary key here? Okay, if I go here, if I go to my data source and the fields, you see this VBLN indicated as key field here. Look at this. How in the transfer structure of the data source, how is this field has been treated as key field? Because see, you created data source on a table where the table had a primary key, so it understands this as a key. You getting my point? You created data source on a table where VBLN was a primary key in this. That's why when you generate data source on the table, it is able to identify which is the key field of this. But for example, let's say you've built a data source with function model extractor with an extract structure, and how does system understand which is a primary key was? No, right? It doesn't know. So we also have an explicitly a program where you can indicate, change the key fields if required. Because what are the key fields we can change? Okay, we have program SC38 RO keys. Sorry, I'm good. 1 second, I'm moving out of charge. Just see, bus. 1 second. One second, boss. I'm losing the charging. 1 second. Okay, you see this program here, ROSOA change key. This is a program. When you run this, it asks you for the data source, say DXC underscore. You can execute this, make change to the key. So by default this is taken. I can change this, both my date and VBLN should be primary key. Then in the active table, both will create as key fields. So like this, by using this program, I can change the key definition of the data source. Okay. And basically, it will change the key definition of your active table of the in-memory DSO, what it gets created in the HANA database. And next point is, let's say as soon as the request is created, it is triggering activation, right? Now I would like to do automatic auto alerts to be set. So what I can do, I can go to administration. We can do configuration like alerts. I will create an alert whenever configure recipients for specific checks. See in-memory data store activation error. For this, if you select this and add recipients and configure the email ID, whenever there is any failure in the in-memory data store activation, you will be receiving an email. You can configure alerts like this. And if you want to see the log, you will have a table called extractors. RS underscore extractors. M underscore extractors. You will not have access. You should run this with the DX user, then you will see log. So in this schema, this was a table for this client. Activation was successful and the phase was activated. It is okay. In this table, you get to see log of all the activation requests going through also. Yeah, this is one way of seeing the log in M underscore extractors, or we can configure automatic alerts also. Yeah, now tell me if there is any doubt here.
I have a doubt here.
In case
so if you are using
there is a question raised here. One second. In case if we select global, then can we use same data source for loading to BW as well as DXC? No. When you say global, what does it mean? All the data sources will be used by DXC bus. That's what it means. Okay. Yeah. Tell me now. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're using standard extractors like LVO or FI,
Yeah.
so LVO mostly they'll use a delta mechanism ABR after before reverse image, and FI uses ADD or ADDD. So how this segregation functionality of will be handled when automatically creating a DSO in HANA database?
See, whether it is ABR or whatever it is, it depends on whether you enable that inversion checkbox or not. Okay. If you don't enable the inversion checkbox for your key figures, whether it is after or before image, it will go to override, then it gives you correct value only. You don't have to worry on that. Yeah. Questions?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Next. Okay.
Hello.
So yeah.
Sir, once you loaded data, data is there in the new table, right? So every time we need to activate for that one, we need to create process chain, or
You don't have to activate. As soon as the request is green, it gets activated. For loading, you can use in process chains. Yeah? As soon as the request is green, the activation will take it automatically. You don't have to do any activation process. You just have to run the info page, which can be scheduled through process chain if required. Yeah?
Okay.
But this can only extract from SAP only, not from non-SAP extractor, not from non-SAP data sources. Okay? So by using DXC, we can only extract from the SAP systems, not the non-SAP systems. Yeah.
So we don't know option. Same data source can be used for BW as well as HANA. In global also, whatever you can schedule only like that.
That's what I'm see. See, you can use bus. What I'm saying is, let's say I have one ECC system. Okay. That I have a 2 LIS 11 some data source which is already loading it to BW. Okay. That is a separate BW system. Now what I do, I use an embedded BW system of ECC only, replicate the same data source to embedded BW and configure it for DX and load in. So what is happening? The same data source is used for BW loading in a different BW system. In this BW system, it is used for DX use. Getting what I'm saying? If you look at this case, see in this, let's say I have a data source 2 LIS something, some star. I replicate this data source to this BW and I'm loading it to BW now. When I replicate the same data source to this BW component, and when I enable it for DXC, I'll be using it for DX here. You getting this what I'm saying? Now same data source is used for loading into BW as well as DXC, right?
Yeah, got it.
But for once I have the BW component here, this component, once I replicate this data source into this component, within this BW I can either use it for DXC or BW, either one. So if I have separate BW, I'll use it for normal BW. I use embedded BW for DXC. Yeah? That is what sidecar. Yeah. Got this?
And yeah, yes, sir.
In that case, how the delta point will work, sir?
Yeah. What is the see? This is a normal process, right? When you connect this ECC, this BW, that's how system name one. When this is connected to this BW, the system name, your delta Q is specific to source system, right? Yes or no?
Your voice is excellent.
I think someone is kept open. What I'm saying, let's say this ECC is connected to this BW with source system 1 and the same ECC is connected to next BW with source system 2, then is your delta Q enabled with specific to source system or not?
Right, sir.
Yes or no, boss? You're missing the basic.
Right.
In RS7, your data source is specific to source system. See, 2LS11 so and so with ECC 00800 will be different. 2LS11 VHDL with BW74 client will be different. Right? Got the point? In case if you are done and can
Hello. Yeah, I have a doubt. Sir, yesterday in class you have mentioned about that ODP data source, one point. Like when you go with ODP data source, you need not go with info packages in BW, right?
We can use info package, not necessarily.
So when we won't go with info package, so we don't have an option of PSA table. So when we get errors, so we can't do editings from BW side.
But I'm not forcing you to eliminate info package. If you want to use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in what scenarios we generally go? Because when we go with that, we don't have access with ECC as a modeler. So when we get errors, we should do from BW side. So in what scenarios we need not go?
When you feel that there are no errors, you use DDX. When you feel that there are errors, use info package.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Yeah, yesterday
And one more thing.
I'll send across. No problem. Okay. Yeah.
While maintaining RS admin, we have options, right? Update, insert, delete, and also some case sensitive option is there. What is that means?
Whether the field should be considered as case sensitive or not. The value what you specify is it case sensitive or not.
Okay. Update means you can update specific to DXC. So insert means same purpose or what?
No, update means you're modifying an existing record in the table. Insert means you're inserting new record in the table. Delete means you're deleting a record in the table.
Delete. Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay. So we'll stop it here, and this is about DXC. And next topic would be about smart data access and the smart data quality and integration. Thank you. Okay, fine.